All right. Can you all see the screen okay?
Yep.
Okay. So first, a quick question for you all. And since we're off camera, maybe just a show of hands or just comment in the chat. But how many of you are on the job market, like actively looking for work? Okay. Awesome. Okay, so great. You're in the right place. And how many of you are struggling to get your applications noticed or feel like it's difficult to get to the point where human eyes are actually looking at your resumes and your applications? Well, yeah, you're not alone. I'm curious if for those of you who are willing to share, if you are willing to put in the chat or come off mute and just have a conversation, how long you have been looking on the job market, and if you had a guess, how many applications you think that you've submitted since you've started looking.
I can go because it's been basically all of 2025. And I've been keeping track of the amount of applications that I've sent out, and it's nearing 100.
Okay.
And that's
100
not cool.
applications. Yeah. Yeah. And if you had a guess, Tiffany, how many of those are turning into interviews?
A very, very small percent.
Yeah.
I'd say 10.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I'll get to an interview and then hear nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're not alone. I did some research while I was kind of coming up with this. And one thing that we're noticing is that the market has really changed since the pandemic and how we're applying to jobs. Every job has roughly, on average, 250 applications. Some reports are saying that for corporate jobs, it's closer to 750. And Tiffany, you're actually knocking it out of the park at 10. Most people are experiencing that about 2.4% of their applications submitted actually lead to real interviews. We're also noticing that because people are applying so much more heavily and so much more strongly into so many more roles, that every role has about 4 times more applications than there are roles available. So the market is just inundated, is another way to say that. And then 50% of companies are using AI screening to help them cope with how many applications they're getting for every individual role. And that's expected to increase to be over 80% by 2026. So you're not alone. If you've been feeling like it's difficult to get noticed, if you've been feeling like you've been getting lost in the milieu of the job market, this is the experience of it. And I am here today to talk to you about how I think AI can help with this reality. I think that if AI is screening our resumes, a really strong way that we can respond to that is by using AI to strengthen our resume applications and have it do some of that heavy lifting for us. So today, we're going to keep it pretty casual. We're going to start by looking at a brief kind of like level setting of like prompting 101. Just kind of teaching you some ways of structuring prompts that I have had a lot of success with. Then I'm just going to jump into actually getting into ChatGPT. You can also be using Copilot and kind of show you how I have created a project or an agent if you're using Copilot to tackle the job seeking process. And then I'll show you the different prompts that I'm using as kind of this workflow to make it more simple. And we'll end with a Q&A. So a bit about me, just to kind of offer some context for those of, although I think almost everyone in this room knows me. I was at Microsoft until earlier this year when I also was impacted, which is corporate speak for I got laid off. I don't know why they always use that, that phrasing, but before that, I was doing customer programming, leading webinars, leading trainings, and also was in charge of doing AI enablement for my team. So when I was thinking and kind of experiencing the last few months of like, this sucks out here, it is really hard. It's hard to keep your morale up. It's hard to feel like you're not just lost in the market. I was thinking about the specific skill set that I have, and I thought that this would be a really nice way to give back and kind of share the skills that I have used. And to that end, I also hope that you all will share what is working for you, what what you have found to be successful. And I find webinars that I have led that are most impactful are the ones where people share learnings. So ideally, this is not only coming from me, but that we can also just kind of share together. So, and to that note, I like to keep the session as casual and interactive as possible. So if you have things you want to share, if you have questions, come off mute, raise your hand, put it in the chat. This doesn't have to be super formal. So if that sounds good, somebody give me a thumbs up and I will move along. Otherwise, I'll pause for questions. Okay, great. Awesome. So one of the things that I have found when talking to people about dealing and interacting with AI is that our brains actually have been really, really well trained to learn how to interact with Google, learn how to do search engine prompts. And working with AI is really, really different. There's a lot more possibility for coming back and saying, that's not what I meant. Please do this. And so there can be a lot more interactions, a lot more specificity offered. I had a moment where I was talking with my parents last week, and we were trying to get ChatGPT to brainstorm something with us. And I had the voice mode on, and I just was, telling ChatGPT what I wanted, what I was looking for, and the kind of ideas I was hoping that it would help me with. And when I stopped, my dad said, wow, you just talked to her like a regular person. I was like, well, yeah, it is really different than feeling like you have to keep it really constrained or tight or only use keywords. It's just a different way of thinking and brainstorming. So I have found that if you want to break down into a script, which is a great way to start, that keeping 5 components in your prompts is really helpful. So the first is just the context. This is literally saying, like, which I did earlier last week. Hey, I'm leading a webinar to teach people how to use you on the job market. There's my context, right? Then offered the goal. What do you want AI to do about it? So I said something like, I want you to brainstorm with me based on the work that we've done together. What are some key components that people might need to know for, succeeding at the job market? So brainstorming was the goal, what I wanted AI to help me with. And then you specify your format. And this is really where it can be what works for your brain, which I find really helpful. So say when you respond, put your answers in bullet points, create a table for me, make a downloadable document, make this a story form. I want to feel like I'm talking to Brene Brown, whatever it is, tell it the more specific you are, the happier you're going to be with the return. If you're doing a writing component, which for our purposes, we would be, specifying the tone that you want AI to use the task in. So I often say things like, I want this to sound professional. I want this to sound I'll use the phrase like, don't make it sound too thirsty. Like, I'm not trying to sound like I'm desperate. No fluff. Sometimes I ask, I need this to sound a little bit more academic, or this is way too wordy. No one's going to spend time reading this. Like when we're doing cover letters, sometimes it has turned out these like beautiful prose. And I say, hey, I forgot to give you this context. People have about 20 seconds of attention span for this. So optimize it for like high impact, really short. It needs to sound like me, it needs to sound like a human, but make it more condensed. And then the constraints, anything that you don't want it to do. And this is where it seems silly to have to say it, but it's really helpful to say things like, do not hallucinate, do not invent metrics, use only the information I provide, stay within the parameters of the job description I've provided. So basically the constraints are where you're indicating to ChatGPT or AI that you actually don't want it to just imagine, because it's really trying to figure out how to work and be helpful to you. And sometimes we want it to imagine. Sometimes we want it to think outside of the box or to create something that aligns perfectly with something else, regardless of, I can't think of an example. But so when you tell it, do not hallucinate, do not invent metrics, it is pretty successful at doing this. I also will often just ask it to cite its sources if I'm doing brainstorming research projects with it. And I have had a lot of good success with that. So I'll stop there. I just threw a lot of information at you. Before we shift gears into the demo, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and actually just share a ChatGPT window. But are there any questions about this or about prompting that you all have?
No questions, but to your point with setting boundaries, I often say keep it concise.
Yes, yes, that is a really good one, because sometimes it can get real wordy and it doesn't help us. Yeah. A quick question for you all, if you could throw this in the chat. How familiar, on a scale of like 1 to 10, 10 being like I use this every day, I'm really familiar with it, 1 being I have no idea, I've never opened AI before. How familiar are you all with using AI, like in any capacity, not just for jobs? 7 to 8, 3, 5. Okay. Okay, so we have a pretty good spectrum here. So I'm gonna go ahead and get a window going here for sharing our screen. So I guess my one follow-up question to that is, when you are all using AI, are you using Copilot or ChatGPT or something else? And do you all have paid subscriptions, or are we using the free versions? Okay. Okay. ChatGPT paid. That's my favorite, Vivian. That's where I'm at too.
I use Copilot and
Okay.
ChatGPT, but all unpaid.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through this first part. For those of you who don't have paid subscriptions, is just going to be a nice learning for you. Poops. I'm going to have to log in real quick. Hold on. I'm going to stop sharing. I had to restart my computer because inevitably, whenever you are signing on to do your first webinar, you just have tech problems and your camera doesn't work. So give me just a moment where I get that all loaded. Okay, I think we're all set. Okay, so this is what the paid version of ChatGPT looks like. And everything that we're going to talk about today is doable with or without the paid version. If you have the paid version, what is helpful is being able to have instructions to it to continue interacting with you in the same capacity. So you can do something where you have a project or an agent that keeps your work and your habits and how you want it to interact with you all in one place, so you don't have to repeat yourself a ton. But that said, you can do what I'm about to teach you how to do without it. But so that you know how to do this, if we're going to create a project, the first thing we're going to do is go over here and click on the left side of the screen, new project. And you all can do this and follow along with me if that's helpful. We're going to call this job test so that I don't get confused with my actual project. So once we create the project, it's going to show up as a new tab over here. And the first thing that you're going to want to do is add files. The files that you want to add for a job test are 1 to 3 of your favorite resumes. And when I say favorite, I mean ones that represent what you have done, ideally with data and impact, the style and formatting that you prefer. And I know for my role, I'm looking for jobs with several different job titles. And depending on the job title, I might angle the resume a little differently. So if I'm applying to instructional design, it's one resume. If I've applied for program manager, it's different. If I've applied for content writer, it's a different resume. So having, if that is also your situation, having one of each of those is really, really helpful. The other thing that you're going to want to upload are your performance reviews. If you keep a running doc of professional accomplishments of just like things that you've done, things that kind of get into more of the nitty gritty of like, I did this project, my manager said this or this about me. The more context and information that you can give AI about who you are and the work you do, the better. The last thing you want to upload is a sample cover letter, which is something that's going to demonstrate your writing voice, how you like to represent yourself. The formatting is somewhat helpful there, but less so. So that ChatGPT or AI gets a sense of what sounds like you, so that when you are asking it to create cover letters and even describe it you in your resume, it's doing it approximating your voice and your tone and how you represent yourself. So when you click add files, this is just where you're gonna, it's pretty straightforward. You're gonna browse along and add the files that you mentioned. So for our purposes, I will, I guess, add just a random smattering of resumes here. So those will upload, and now ChatGPT has a frame of reference that it can use for me in an ongoing capacity. So it can reference those at any moment as we go along. So the next thing that you're going to want to do is to go up to the top right here, and we're going to click something that says add instructions. These instructions apply to the entire project, but are specific only to this project. So if you leave this project, ChatGPT won't follow the procedures, you know, in your regular chats as it would in this specific chat. In your instructions, you're basically saying things like, when I say X, I want you to do the following tasks. When I ask you to create a resume, I want you to do this and this and this. So this is where I'm actually going to share a document with you so that you all can follow along if in case you are doing this live with me. So click that document. I just threw it in the chat, and somebody give me a thumbs up or a thumbs up in the chat. Tell me that you were able to access it. Great. Thank you, Tracy. So basically what I have done here, I'm not sharing the right screen, but we'll just pop it over. It's fine. I think we can do this. Yeah. So your resume cover letter instructions, I've highlighted in yellow anything that you need to do. So and everything else that you can really just copy paste. So instructions are at the top. Where you're going to start copying and pasting is the resume cover letter assistant. And we're literally just going to copy all of this. JD is shorthand for job description. ChatGPT and AI generally get that. So so here under following my rules exactly, you might want to customize what you prefer. There's a specific blue header that I really like. I like the order of summary, skills, experience, education, and then additional things. So figuring out, actually, usually, that's funny. I usually put skills at the bottom. So this is basically creating our workflow. When I give you the job description, what's the first thing you're going to do? We're going to do a fit analysis. Then we're going to, sorry, I'll back up. We're going to do a fit analysis where it's going to read the job description and tell me what it thinks about, what it knows about my skills and how it matches with the job description. Once I say like, yes, I want to go ahead and apply, it's going to start helping me draft an in-chat resume so that I can edit it rather than having multiple documents coming down and trying to edit them myself. We can just kind of work live collaborating on the resume in chat. Then we're going to ask it, once we agree that we have a final form that we like, we will create the Word document generation. So when I say created resume in a downloadable Word doc, ChatGPT will actually create a literal link that you click and it downloads. One thing I will say about that, once in a blue moon, it will say, okay, here's your document, and it looks like a blue document, but then you click on it and nothing happens. And when it does that, it's just failed to do one of the final steps. So just tell it, like, you didn't do it. you didn't create the document. So, and it will usually correct itself. If the job application is asking for a cover letter, which they don't always, you can fill in your tone requirements and say, like, let's go ahead and create a cover letter for this job. These are specifications around tools and skills so that it's not inventing things that you haven't done. But sometimes there's a caveat in here that I have found really helpful where if the job description is looking for a specific tool and I don't have it, if AI thinks that maybe I do have it, but it's not sure, I have said, like, ask me about it. And there have been moments where I just forgot that I have used Canva before. And ChatGPT prompting that was really helpful. So I'm like, oh yeah, please do include that. Or no, I've never used that tool before. We can't say that. And then these are your experience boundaries. So, and these you can just kind of add as you go along. Bullet point rewriting rules. So this is getting into the nitty gritty. I will, for the sake of time, leave that for you all to peruse in your own time. So we're literally just going to copy this. And this isn't going to be perfect because I haven't actually filled all of this out, but we're going to save it. Okay. So that as that's going, I'm going to go ahead and grab you guys this other chat. So the next document I'm sharing with you is a collection of prompts that I have developed over time. And I literally keep my workflow, sorry, excuse me, my workflow is keeping these prompts in one window and keeping ChatGPT in another and keeping LinkedIn or wherever I'm searching for jobs in another window. So I'm grabbing that job description, throwing it into ChatGPT, and then as we're working, I'm grabbing these prompts and copying and pasting them in. And some of these prompts are very long-winded and specific. If you don't have a paid subscription where you can tell it how to interact with you every time, you'll want to grab the full flow of all of those prompts along the way. Okay, so when we get to it, let me just show you what this looks like in practice. We have created our agent, and we're going to say, we're just going to apply for a new job. So going up to the top here, there's instructions for prompts for starting the process. I'm literally going to say, I'm going to give you a job description, and this is how I want you to return it. So for those of you who have a paid subscription, what you can do is literally just say, well, let me just do it two ways. So if you don't have paid, you're going to copy and paste this entire thing. And fingers crossed this works. I was playing around with it this morning, so sometimes it's going to think that I'm trying to troubleshoot the prompt itself. Yeah, okay. So you can just watch me do this live here. So what has happened, just to kind of cue you into the process. This morning, I was having ChatGPT help me write prompts. And it remembers this. And so it is recognizing this prompt and thinks that I'm still asking it to do that same task. So I'm just going to tell it, I don't need help writing the prompt.
Julie?
Yeah.
Is it possible for you to make your screen a little bit bigger?
I don't know.
So click the vertical 3 dots in the top right-hand corner.
Yeah. Yep. And then what?
I don't see a drop down.
Oh, it says in-call messages, background effects, copy, join info, raise hand, turn captions, or send a reaction.
I'm sorry, in the browser.
Oh, you just want
to enhance the screen. Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
Helpful.
Yes, much better. Because otherwise, I'm like with my nose to the screen.
Yeah. No, thank you for speaking up, Tiffany. That's really helpful. Okay, so it's on board now. So it knows what I'm asking it to do, and it's actually helpful for you all to see when it goes astray, that you literally just can specify, I just want you to do the thing. I'm randomly just going to jump over here and grab a job from LinkedIn. So I am literally just going to copy, without reading any of this, a job from LinkedIn. So one thing that I have found helpful is putting the job descriptions in quotes. It just cues AI that this is the quote that you're asking it to interact with. It's not super essential, but I think it helps. So we've dropped it in. It's going to offer me a fit analysis of how it thinks it's going to do. So it tells me, I think this is a strong fit, my work in L&D and instructional design. And then it's going to break down a table for us saying like, here's where you have strong fit analysis. Here's a potential gap. So if I really want to dig into this role, I could slow down and kind of look at this. It's going to lay out my qualifications, with the fit. So it's pulling things from the resumes that I just gave it to say, you've done this, I know you've done this, and here's where it matches with what the job is looking for. So it's pretty detailed. To be perfectly frank, unless it's a job I'm like really slowing down to work hard at, I'll usually just skim this and say like, okay, it's great. So we're just going to go ahead and say, let's apply for a job. You literally could at this point just say, yeah, great. Now let's create a resume for this. So I can copy paste, it's fine. Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and do the next prompt, and it's going to turn out a templated resume for me. So it's saying like, this is the affirmation of what it's saying, like, here's what I've done based on how I understood your ask. So if it messes up, I can look at this and be like, you didn't understand the ask correctly, try again. But so this is the resume. And when it creates the resume, it's going to look different based on the formatted instructions I have given it in the instructions. But, you know, it has the professional summary that I prefer. Okay, this is not, so this is where, in the instructions where I was like, why are you putting skills at the top? They usually go at the bottom. This is where you would want to edit those instructions so that it put it where it usually goes. Because usually it jumps from professional summary for me strictly to professional experience.
Julie,
So
quick
it's
question.
Yeah.
Is your recommendation not to put skills before experience, but instead after?
I don't usually. What do other people do? I usually put professional summary, experience, and then skills.
Mine looks like professional summary, expertise and skills, then experience, then education. And if there's room, I'll put the volunteer activities that I do.
Okay. What are other people doing? I'm curious how that is for you all. Like, yeah. What's the order other people are using for your resume?
I think I do the same as yours.
Yeah. Interesting. I don't know if there's a right or wrong. I'm probably not the resume guru, but for my field, I think I usually put skills at the bottom. But I don't know if it super matters, but that's what I have seen more commonly. But yeah.
I've heard some people putting skills closer to the top.
Huh.
Like I did a resume review session, and that's what they were like kind of saying, but like it looks awkward for me. So I don't know. I kept it.
Yeah. I wonder, it could be a thing too, where it depends on your role. Like maybe if you're in product or more technical, maybe it's more important to have those at the top. I don't know. I probably would look at industry examples and just see what people are doing. But I have, so you can see the professional experience here. It's kept it pretty light. So we might say, you know, something I have done with it before. I like when you bold the data points. Then I might say something like, let's edit the second bullet point to more close. I'm just making things up. The other thing I noticed, sorry, I can't multitask. With an LLM, a large language model, what can happen is when you are iterating on this, it might regenerate the resume with each conversation because of how LLMs work. So I started noticing that when I asked it to change one bullet point, it changed that bullet point, but then there were little bits and pieces of the entire resume that had also changed, which made me want to pull my hair out.
Yes.
And what I found to be really helpful was to just tell it, again, more information, better results. Tell it, leave everything else the exact same. I don't want you to reproduce. You also can say, copy paste everything else the same. Also, you don't have to have perfect grammar. I always have
typos. So
typos.
just to piggyback, Julie,
Yeah.
I have found that it wants to create a downloadable document. So I have to tell it, I don't want it in a downloadable document. Put it in line.
Yeah. 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 And I think if you have the paid version, putting that in instructions is really helpful. Otherwise, I would just embed that into the prompt at the beginning, that you want to actually iterate with it in the chat. And usually it will do that. So say we're really happy with how this has gone. We're ready to move on. We can head over to our prompts. We skipped editing. So we're just going to go ahead and say, we're just going to copy this one and throw it in the chat. This step usually does take a while because it actually has to create the file. And this is where the formatting that you've specified in your instructions is going to help. If you don't have a paid version of this, this is just where you're going to probably build out that document that I shared with you, where you're going to have a bulkier copy and paste for each of those prompts, where you're going to specify exactly what that format is and what that format looks like. So let's see how it did. I'm going to stop sharing so that I can share the file with you all so we can see how it did. Present something else. Okay. Hold on, it's still opening. Oh, interesting. So I actually don't like how it turned out. That's all right. Okay. So I would have it redo this. This is not the format I asked for at all. It could be because I didn't actually fill out the instructions in our time together. So what I'm going to show you what I will do to fix this. So this formatting looks, the margins look weird. I think this is it doesn't look very good to me. So let me share. Okay. So if we say, I don't like this format, and I'm just going to ask it to redo it. The blue formatting I usually like. So you can see here I'm pulling on its memory of our work together, of how we have usually done it. But this is also a good example for you all to kind of see, like, if it does something you don't like, if you return something that you don't like, tell it that you don't like it and tell it how to fix it. If you didn't have history here to pull from, this is where you would just need to really slow down and spell out for you, or give it a file. Say, like, I actually want you to match this probably would have been a better example to say, like, I want you to actually match the formatting in the file that I have shared with you in this, either in the chat if you don't have a paid version, or in the project if you do have a paid version. So let's see how this one did. And then I'm going to open it up for Q&A for our last 20 minutes. Let's see how we did here. Okay. Okay, so it's closer. Let me share with you this review. So it's a little closer to how I usually structure my resumes. You can see that the margins are still a little funny, but the layout is a little better. If I was actually using this to apply for a job, I would probably get a little nitpicky here and give it a file specifically and say, like, I want you to copy this formatting. And by formatting, I mean bold, blue headers, margin spacing, exactly, and adjust this resume to match that precisely. So I'm going to stop there, but